Ben Simmons has entered the chat. He continues to be the most interesting man in the NBA, or at least the most talked about man in the NBA. In that business, if you've not heard the latest, maybe you have missed it, we learned some new information that the Brooklyn Nets, both players, that would be Kyrie and Kevin Durant, who are the only players that matter on that team, and the coaching staff formed a powwow, and they wanted Ben Simmons. This is going to blow your mind what they wanted from Ben Simmons. They wanted Ben Simmons. I hope you're sitting down. If you're working, take a second to pause. They wanted Ben Simmons to show some guts, to show some resolve, to, wait for it, play in the postseason. Oh, my God, the humanity! Even if it was for only a couple minutes. And what did Ben Simmons respond to that request? Well, we are told that Ben Simmons informed the Nets that he has a mental block and that he can't play. That the mental block is creating stress and that is triggering his back pain. Oh, my aching back! I'm not making this up. And that has led to a thorough rebuke across the NBA, and that comes from Shams Charania, who is under the umbrella of the agency that represents Ben Simmons. And this has led to people on both sides of the aisle. You've got many people poking fun at Ben Simmons. There are other people running to defend the basketball player. Can you really call him a basketball player? If you're a basketball player and you don't play basketball, are you still a basketball player? Don't you have to call him something else? I think you do. So let us discuss, though. I have enjoyed seeing the messages. I even received one email from someone that said that I was a schmuck. He actually used a different word we're not allowed to say on radio, that I had crossed the line with my hot take on Ben Simmons. So let us discuss the question. Are people being too hard on Ben Simmons? Are they being too mean? I'm shaking my head no on this. This is a big N to the O. No. I've got Silver Bullet, Sahara Desert, and Elvis Presley. And we will combine all of these random things together, and we'll put those into a blender. And we'll turn the blender on for a couple of seconds, see what we get. Now, number one. The idea that people are being too hard is a farcical idea. Ben Simmons is the piñata at a kid's birthday party. Everyone's blindfolded and they're swinging away. And you know what? He deserves it, okay? He deserves it. Everyone gets a swing, even you in the back. In the back of the line, you'll get a swing, unless the piñata breaks open. And I'm trying to wrap my head around who's defending Ben Simmons. Like, who are these people? Where were they raised? Were they raised by wolves? To me, it's sports hate, and sports hate is perfectly allowed. Perfectly allowed. And I'll tell you what right now, if we don't have sports hate, if we cancel sports hate, I'm out. I'm not part of sports. I'll find something else to do. I will give up my entire career. If we get rid of sports hate, I'm done. But from a sports hate perspective, what Ben Simmons, the shenanigans, the chicanery that he's been part of, the skullduggery, is indefensible. Right? Ben Simmons is the personification of the spoiled brat. And the idea that people are defending this, it just blows my mind. That's not how I was raised. I was not raised that way to defend this kind of activity. And I hope that that this does not become the norm. Now, the good news is that I have been refreshed to see a significant amount of blowback. That gives me hope that there's a big enough dichotomy from social media to the real world yet again, that real people, the vast majority of men, women, and I'm even going to look out for the children, that they understand this is absurd, that the statement released by the Nets sounded like, or someone around Ben Simmons, either way, it sounded like satire, like Babylon Bee, Sports Talk Barry, any of the satire places on the internet. But no, this is like, come on, this is ridiculous. So a lot of people now have gone, Popeye the Sailor Man. That's all I can stands, and I can't stands no more. Now, what Ben Simmons and the people around Ben Simmons are doing is they're using the silver bullet of excuses, which is mental health. It's a very slippery slope because what's a mental health issue to you might not be a mental health issue to me and vice versa. And so it is seen as the ultimate trump card. And what he's done here, not only has he used that, the mental health card, Ben Simmons, which is cheapening legitimate mental health, but Ben Simmons is also combining the old with the new. Because back in the old days, when I was around the NBA a lot, and I spent a lot of time early in my radio career, I was what they call a stringer, which is a radio reporter. They don't even have those really anymore. I'm so old. But in those days, I was in the locker rooms all the time. That was my gig. And I was around players in all these different sports. But in the NBA in particular, I remember one of the coaches pulling me to the side and pointing out how they worked. And so in those days, you were shamed if you took games off. There was actually, believe it or not, a sense of pride that the players in the old days, in the Bronze Age, wanted to play every game. And if they missed a game, it was a betrayal of their job. And oh, how we have evolved. Oh, how we have evolved. But that's not the point of the story. So in the NBA in the old days, if somebody had gone out and spent too much time chasing skirts and drinking and having a wonderful time of debauchery, and they wanted to take a day off or a night off, what they would do is claim lower back pain. I've told this story before, but why lower back pain? I was told by this old veteran coach in the NBA that there is no test that can either confirm or deny a non-specific lower back injury. And in those days, the argument, I don't know if this is still the case, but the doctors would argue that if you test on a lower back injury, you actually will do more damage to the back than just letting it heal on its own. So it's refreshing, again, I go back to that word, that many adults and children realize what Ben Simmons is doing here. There's a term for it. The United States Army came up with it. The military in the United States has this term. It's called malingering. And what Ben Simmons is doing here is malingering. He's grossly exaggerated his symptoms. And believe the motivation is to avoid actually working, but he's obtaining financial compensation. And the story, several people sent me this. They said, Ben, do you know that Tiger Woods broke both of his legs and one of his arms? One of his legs was in 3 pieces, and he came back before Ben Simmons? Did you know that Russell Wilson, when he was playing in Seattle, he broke a finger on his throwing hand, and he came back in a couple weeks? And there's all these other examples that people are sending me. When they're saying, hey, Ben Simmons is a flower, he's a pussy willow flower. That's the kind of flower he is. Now, second, so Ben Simmons is the result, and I hate, this is Ben on Ben crime. What I'm doing now is Ben on Ben crime. I hate doing it, but I got to do it. Ben Simmons is the result of a social experiment by the NBA. All right, social experiment, and here we are, and this is the result. For years, Adam Silver and the hierarchy in that business encouraged players, healthy players, missing games. They have celebrated this, taking nights off, absenteeism, all the rage. Testing out this radical plan, pushing the envelope, push it, until it pushes back. Ben Simmons is the Frankenstein out of the lab, is the experiment gone bad. He is tremendously gifted as a basketball player, but he's the NBA's version of Simone Biles or Naomi Osaka. Ben Simmons is a gutless puke. He does not have the fighting spirit, and the NBA as an industry gave him an inch, and he has taken a country mile. And so many people were accommodating, bending over backward for this guy. And we've had these conversations in the past, and the people that were praising other athletes like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, having courage. But when it comes to Ben Simmons, finally now, this is a line of demarcation. The jig is up. Compassion be damned on this one. Imagine, if you will, being in the Sahara Desert and Ben Simmons, you're walking through the desert, you've got your camel with you, and Ben Simmons is the straw that broke the camel's back. This is, we'd like to think this is the moment that we do, as I said, cross the Rubicon. And we've heard whispers that Ben Simmons didn't play for the Nets to bolster his financial claim against the 76ers, which I don't want to go full of Illuminati, but I believe that is part of this. That is part of this, that he has said that he was emotionally unfit to play in Philly. And so by continuing the ruse and sitting out in Brooklyn, he now has a much stronger, compelling case to say, hey, I told you so. I wanted to play, but I can't play. I wish I could. Pay me. Show me the money to the Sixers. All right, so meanwhile, Ben Simmons, a lot of people are saying he's Charmin. I say no. Buddy of mine pointed out, I sent him a meme that had Ben Simmons with Charmin across his chest. And my buddy said, you're an idiot, Mal. And I said, why am I an idiot? He says, Charmin's good toilet paper. That's quality TP. When you wipe your tuchus with Charmin, you've got a good product. He said, this guy Simmons, he's marathon. He's the marathon man. Because that's, if you've ever gone to like those truck stops, like to me, the worst toilet paper, he's right, is that marathon toilet paper. You got to use like a whole roll. Otherwise, it just falls apart in your hands. It's to me, it's the lowest quality. All right, final point. So where does Ben Simmons' career go from here? We are at the proverbial fork in the road. Now, from what we are hearing, finally the Nets are fed up that they've reached the boiling point with Ben Simmons. They got played and Big Ben Simmons got paid. So Brooklyn, if this is true and they realize they got hoodwinked, bamboozled, hornswoggled, led astray into thinking that Ben Simmons was actually going to, show up and work at the job, if the NBA and the Nets had any scruples as an industry, they would get out of the Ben Simmons business. It's like that classic Elvis Presley song from many years ago, Return to Sender. Return to Sender. The Aussie muffed it. Send him back to the land of the kangaroo. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And they can wear the dunce cap here. The Brooklyn Nets, they ought to sue Ben Simmons. Now, I realize there's a union involved in this, so it's very complicated. But this is an open and shut case, breach of contract, a violation of a signed agreement under which Ben Simmons was paid. Now, the agreement was made with the Sixers. The contract was transferred to Brooklyn. But he was paid for services not rendered. It was unjust enrichment. We mentioned the word malingering. And Ben Simmons has taken the money. He has not provided anything of value in return. He is the personification of useless. All right? He's useless. And does anyone else in the NBA have the balls to get involved with this guy, to play the game of charades? Now, there's a theory called the greater fool theory, that a player keeps getting moved to a different team until you run out of the greater fool. Whoever takes Ben Simmons will be the greater fool, like the Nets are the greater fool than the 76ers. And if somebody like Sacramento or Charlotte or Orlando or Team X takes Ben Simmons, they will then get to wear the dunce cap. But it's going to be fascinating to see here if the Nets are able to put him on the trade block. He's got a lot of years left on his contract, but he doesn't want to play basketball. Will a third team take a bite out of Snow White's poisoned apple? It's kind of like all the people that died drinking it wasn't actually Kool-Aid, but the colloquial term is Kool-Aid in Jonestown. All the people that drank the drink, like at some point, the people in the back of the line had to realize, well, wait a minute, everyone's croaking, but they still drink. Like, is somebody going to take Ben Simmons on again with everything that has happened? We'll keep an eye on it.